I think it's valuable that the Federal Home Loan Bank incorporates scenarios into the plan, which makes it reasonable that it would have ballooned up to 200 pages. But can you talk really quickly about what are some of the most important items? I know Sharon talked about a couple of things that were important for strategic communication, but because you have such a robust plan and because the Federal Home Loan Bank has to report to the Security and Exchanges Commission and to New York, I think it would be valuable for people who represent public and private companies to hear some of the things that you guys have in your plan that are extremely important.
Yeah, so let me think about this. So like I was saying in the beginning, the first thing that you see in that plan is if there is an emergency, here's the list of people. And they're in order. They're in order by what they can do to help you in the crisis situation. But we constructed that so if anyone from any department in this bank walks into my office or somebody on the communications team's office or goes on our intranet, they have a roadmap that they can follow. Because like I was saying earlier, you don't know if you're actually going to be here. And I can tell you stories where, I mean, the anthrax scare, I was actually flying back from San Francisco and our facilities person called and said I had landed, no, I was taking off. And they're like, where are you? They're freaking out. Where are you? There's hazmat suits. People are panicking. We've got TV crews. Where are you? And I'm like, listen, I am taking off right now on a plane and I won't be back in Atlanta for 5 hours. Here's who you go to. Here's where you find the plan. Here's who you call. In addition to that, it's by section. So we've tried to think through every possible scenario because to your point, we're SEC registrants. We are regulated by Congress and the FHFA. So they actually come in and talk to us about these plans. We try to anticipate different events that can occur. And you touched on this a couple of times, but natural disasters are really our next big thing because it was, interestingly enough, in December of 2019, we sat down with our HR department and we put together a plan for pandemics. And we all kind of laughed because we were like, oh, that's never happened. I mean, this is not, 1855, it'll be fine. Well, what happened 3 months later? And so we had to quickly stand up an internal communications, channels that we didn't have before, and we had to get all of our staff out. But we had thought through that messaging because we were trying to anticipate risk. So that's the other thing. It doesn't have to happen to you. It's something that could happen to you. And so you've got to think about how it can impact your business. For us, our member banks and credit unions, for example, are funding any of you. You might be borrowing money for your house or your car or any of that. Well, when a tornado hits like it did in New Orleans, and I haven't seen the news today, but I know last night there was damage. So guess what? There are loans outstanding. There are people in need that need money. Can we help them? Can we support our banks by lending money to them so they can loan out in the communities that they serve? So for us, we're always thinking about how does that back up to our business? And then how can we strategically lay it out? So literally, no kidding, every one of the scenarios that we have has a press release, internal talking points, key stakeholders. So who are your key stakeholders? They may not be who you think they are. So for us, we have employees. That's the one I didn't hear so far today. HR always has to be involved in a crisis because one way or the other, even if it's external, it's going to impact your employees. And Sharon made a couple of good points that are correct. I probably take for granted being in financial services that we have such a tight box around what our staff can say because it could, we could get fined with SEC or, there's a number of things that could happen from our regulator down. So we have really compliant staff and we teach them this. I mean, I can tell you in 14 years, I have very seldomly had anything come out that I didn't expect or that a staff member did. But the other thing is we monitor 24/7 what's being said about our brand. So we pay for a service that has changed names a couple of times, but there's like Meltwater News, there's Vocus. There's Google Alerts you can pay for free. Why is it important I'm telling you this? Because we can see if there's any emerging risk that we might not have thought of, that people are out there chattering about, or that our staff is talking about. So if our staff was talking about this fiduciary information that they have, we can track them down. And I've had a couple, it's more interns than seasoned employees, that have started, you know, Twitter and Facebook pages, because we're not cool like that. Because, you know, I also caution away from companies having them unless they have 24/7 monitoring and somebody that can actually run their social media, because that is where big companies also get in major trouble, right? Like, they are trying to put all these fires out all over the place, and then, like, you know, a few hours later, somebody says, did you look at Facebook? Have you answered any of those questions? Do you have talking points? Do you have anything? And your story could have already blown up because of social media. So I also caution against, don't go out and just, you know, open Instagram and Facebook and all the things, because that's going to cause you more issues than anything else. Anyway, that's not the question, but those are some of the key components to the plan. And we talk to our staff a lot, and we train them, and we have mass media trainings at times too.